moments left of us. Good luck. God bless. And Godspeed.
Welcome back, friends. It's time for another movie review with Matt. Say hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
We don't have a lot of news to share at the top. We have lofty goals of getting the Discord together this week. Next week. Soon. We have lofty goals of getting the Discord together soon. Also going to be putting up our website, which will have links to both our Patreon and Instagram account, and we'll have a submission form if anyone wants to submit a movie, television show, or book series for us to read, watch, and review. So beyond that, I guess let's just get into it. So, hi.
All right.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to the Strange and Beautiful Book Club.
All right, so this one was my recommendation. This was a movie I had seen a while back. I remember this showed up under when Netflix got like really specific categories. This was under visually striking thrillers.
I would describe it more as sci-fi horror, which I'm not usually a fan of sci-fi horror, but this one wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad.
I think this one was more of this was definitely more psychological thriller rather than...
Psychological thriller, monsters in space. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a little psychological. We got a little monstery.
Yeah, we got a little more horror. Horror in the sense of becoming detached from your understanding of the world.
Yeah.
And how it works.
Definitely.
Towards the end, we got a little more horror-y, but before that it was...
I would say towards the end we get a little more psychological horror-y, because for the first part of the movie, it's pretty much jump scare monster movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's not really until later when Gallo shows up that we start getting a little psychological.
Yes, definitely. And,
yeah.
Well done.
I mean, it's a nice
done
transition. Yeah, because if
horror,
it would get a little too... I mean, it gets a little monster heavy towards the end, but you're getting a nice distraction with this psychological play.
All right. So you should have watched it before listening to the podcast. So
FYI, spoiler alert. That's what Matt's getting at there.
All right. So we start out on a spaceship and
Woohoo!
Like outside zooming views of
a spaceship in space.
Implausibly shaped long distance spacecraft. Oh, and there's like a timeline. It's like year, event.
And
year,
population.
Event. Oh, yeah, population.
Yeah.
So then, the human population is way too high. People are starting to starve. And then in 2174, the Elysium was launched. And the Elysium is the ship that we're zooming around, getting panning shots of. And there was...
With really aggressive music. Like the soundtrack in this moment is so aggressive.
Yes.
Like we are not getting...
beat.
Yeah, we are not getting pensive space. We are not getting... no, this is like fight music.
Right. It's intense.
It's intense.
From
it's
the beginning.
Heavy, and it's just like right off the bat. Here you
There's
go.
no pretense that this is a lighthearted sci-fi movie.
No.
One of the year event population things was a probe landing on a planet called Tanis.
Correct.
And that's just the first. That's the first
hint
detail.
we get about Tanis.
Yeah, that's the first hint we get about where this spaceship is going, and it's just kind of in the almost the opening credits, and then we kind of don't hear about anything about where the ship is going for a while. Let's see. You zoom into the cockpit, and you overhear a transmission from Earth. If you're not paying attention, it's really easy to miss it. But the transmission says,
"You're all that's left of us. Good luck. God bless. And Godspeed."
So then we transition into like a dream sequence, and then this guy wakes up in this like hibernation pod.
Yeah, and he's screaming, but it's muted. So like he starts out screaming, and then we cut to the outside, and it's clearly muted, and you can just see him screaming, which is kind of a cool.
The hibernation pod is soundproof.
Yeah, that was kind of a cool effect because you still get all that terror, but you don't have to live with the like screamy man for too long.
Right, you don't have to listen to it.
Yeah, because we just came from that driving music straight into, oh, soft woman, I love you, soundless dream sequence to screaming man waking up in a pod. So it's nice to go, we don't just leap into that wholly. We get the muted pod moment there, which is nice.
Right, and that establishes an important fact later that the hibernation pod is soundproof.
Yes.
Let's see. So he wiggles himself out of the hibernation pod, and the practical effects just like makeup look pretty cool because he looks like he's been in hibernation for a long time.
Yeah, he looks super gross.
Yeah, there's like this almost plasticky looking layer of skin and lots of like tubes and pipes and whatever connected to his body. Let's see. There's 3 pods in the room. One of them is empty. Or both of one of them is empty and one of them has a person in it. Cooper's pod is empty.
Yes.
Peyton's pod has
Dennis Quaid in it.
Dennis Quaid. And so there's kind of a montage of him kind of wandering around a bit. He finds a locker.
Oh, the lights fail.
Oh, yeah, the lights go
as soon
out
as he
right
gets
after
out,
he wakes up.
Yeah, the light kind of pops and fizzes and goes out. So immediately
Luckily, there's lots of glow sticks around.
So immediately we're getting, oh no, shit's gone sideways.
Systems are failing.
Yeah.
And then...
Which immediately establishes sort of the surreal nature of this movie. I mean, they don't give us a moment where it's like, oh, everything's going to be fine, guys. This was exactly what was supposed to happen. We just get like, sorry, but shit's fucked up and y'all in it. So here we go.
And the only scene we've had so far of the ship operating correctly is the, what's the main room?
The bridge.
The bridge.
When they receive the transmission.
The bridge, when they receive the transmission from Earth that you're the last of us.
Right, which we see the guy in the background, and he's the bad guy from Twilight, which it pains me to note. But so immediately I felt like, oh, this guy's significant, which would not have felt that way in 2009. I'm only feeling that way because I know he goes on to be in like Twilight. So he stood out a lot to me.
When was Twilight released?
2008.
So this would have been right after Twilight.
Yeah, they're like concurrent. Wow, you're going to make me look it up. Twilight. 2008. God, I hate that I knew that.
Okay. So yeah, if you're paying attention to the bridge scene, he kind of steps up onto the platform in the background.
Yeah, he definitely steps out to a like see me position.
Let's see, he's getting dressed, he looks in the locker and he's reading like paragraph on the inside of the locker about a notice about temporary memory loss. And so that's why he doesn't know who he is or what's going on.
We don't either. So, hey.
Right? They're just dropping us right in.
Solidarity.
So far, so good.
He is wearing some magnificent tighty-whities in this scene, too.
Yes.
Let me just tell you.
They're definitely like high-tech.
This guy put a lot of work into himself.
Low rise.
He put a lot of work into himself to immediately put on coveralls that he never again takes off. Just want to note that that is one of the several travesties which are present in this film.
Yeah.
So,
but he finds a locker that matches the name on his hibernation pod. He assumes that's him. Gets dressed, sees a picture of the woman from the dream sequence, tries to figure out how to get out of this room.
I mean, he also has a tattoo on his arm. We make a big to-do of him, like, inspecting this tattoo on his arm.
Yeah, which is like FLT 004.
5? Isn't he 5?
Oh, he's 5, yeah. He's trying to get out of this room and maybe turn the lights back on because it's still dark. And then Peyton's pod opens up.
Well, he tries to wake Peyton up. He's, like, banging on it, and he bangs on it with a big metal pole to, like, try to break it. And it still doesn't open it, so he decides to, like, calm himself down by laser shaving. Which
that's right.
Matt was like, oh.
If I had that kind of razor, I might actually shave.
Laser shave. And he's laser shaving when Dennis Quaid decides to wake up.
Pop up.
Pop out of his tube.
He does it much more elegantly than Bauer did.
Yeah, there's not as much screaming.
And he wasn't stuck. He wasn't as disoriented.
Look, Dennis Quaid's been in space before, okay? He's been in inner space. He's been in
outer space.
Outer space. He's befriended aliens on other planets and then raised their children. Like
had their
Dennis,
baby.
Yeah. Dennis Quaid. He's seen some shit, okay? He knows how to pop out of a tube when he has to.
All right. Peyton also doesn't know anything about what's going on after Bauer helps him kind of clean up.
We kind of get the sense that they're on a sleep rotation. That's what they both are kind of alluding to, that their tattoos are like, there's a certain number of crews, since this flight is so long, they rotate through them.
Right, and they both have some memories of either training or being on previous ships where you have like a 2-year rotation. Bauer assumes this is the first time I've woken up, so this must be my first shift. If I'm flight team number 5, that means there's been 8 years of...
Yeah, so we must have been flying for 8 years.
So we're 8 years out.
Yeah. So we've got 2 dudes who don't know exactly who they are. We don't know how long we've been in space.
The lights are out.
The lights are out. We don't know why they've woken up. We don't know where the other guy is.
The doors won't open.
I mean, where are you mentally right now? Like, you're watching this movie for the first time.
I better ask you that question.
Where am I? Well, I'm not a space horror person. But this is good. Like, I'm invested in this moment. This is a good mystery setup to get us started.
Right. At this point, it's kind of a mystery.
We have a couple mystery
We're not
pawns.
in pain.
Yeah.
We're not starving. We're not injured.
Right.
We're just trying to figure out what's happening.
Right.
They can access some systems, look at some status, and then they realize there's like power surges. The lights will come on for about 10 seconds and then go back off.
Yeah.
And
we do a good job of establishing a really creepy, really frightening atmosphere a long time before we actually get a monster reveal.
Right. Like, it's not even scary yet until we don't really go into any scary elements until Bauer goes up into the ventilation
like
shaft.
monster scary. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We definitely set up fear though. Like we're ticking a lot of the, like, they are alone in space. No one can help them.
Systems are not functioning.
They have no communications. So it's good. It's good. It's a good immediate.
They're isolated and limited resources. They need to get to the other side of the door to get to the bridge. And Bauer goes up into the ventilation shafts.
Bauer being not Dennis Quaid. So Dennis Quaid's
right.
Peyton, and then the other guy is Bauer. So he's the little guy.
Right, and it turns out he remembers that he's the mechanical engineer of
yes.
the flight team 5. So he is very sure that he can fix the reactor and get systems and power back online. So he goes up into the ventilation shafts to find a path to the other side of the door so that he can open the door from the other side.
Correct.
And that's where things start going wrong.
They do a cool thing in here where he's feeling
having a panic
claustrophobic.
attack?
He's having a panic attack. claustrophobic. So he's having a panic attack.
And there's all these black tubes.
Right. So the tubes are like swelling and swirling in on him, and it just creates this
it was a nice practical effect where
Yes.
they like actually inflated the tubes, so he's actually getting squeezed.
Yeah. It was
And
really
we're kind of flashing back and forth to him being compressed and stuck in the ventilation shaft versus alternating shots where he's not actually.
right. It was really well done because you get that immediate sense of tension with him being, which of course it's just creepy him being in this shaft already anyway, because anybody with even mild claustrophobia is like, yeah, God, I feel you. That's horrific. We already have this huge tension that they've established just from the setup, which is great. And then he gets in the shaft and he sees a spider too. So not only is it
That's right.
claustrophobic, but he's trapped in there with a spider.
So then Dennis Quaid, Peyton, calms him down, walks him through it. So then we're kind of establishing that Peyton has a little more command experience.
Yeah, he's lieutenant.
That's right. He's the higher rank.
Yep.
Whereas Bauer is corporal.
Correct.
He gets calmed down.
Oh yeah, he's
everything
feeling super
deflates.
chill. Everything's great until he realizes.
And then there's some sweat on his face, and he's like, something's wrong. I'm at an angle. And then he slides down and ends up stopping himself right before he slams into a grate going down into a hallway as he's like, whew, I didn't smash my face into this grate.
He finds Cooper.
Hey, the desiccated corpse of Cooper.
Yeah. But hey,
Cooper's been there for at least several years, drying out in the ventilation duct. So now we're establishing a little bit more timeline of how long has the ship been non-functional. And so he ends up opening the grate, the hatch falls down into a literal boot locker.
Yeah, it's a room full of lockers, full of boots.
He says,
I mean,
I'm in
it's
a boot locker. And then he opens the door and then falls down like another 8 feet into the room. And he's like, make that an overhead compartment.
Yeah. Full of boots.
Full of boots.
I mean, okay. It's just an interesting storage choice.
Which I kind of expected more to happen with the boots.
Maybe more did happen with the boots. This movie definitely feels like it has missing scenes.
There was, there's an upcoming scene where someone tells him to take off his boots.
Yeah. We never revisit that. She's just barefoot for the entire movie.
He
could have been like, dude, you want boots? I fucking got boots. I got a whole fucking room of boots.
You don't need to take mine.
You don't need to take mine. I know where there's more.
I'll show you. But this chick jumps out. He leaves the room, starts walking down the hallway. He sees a lady run past, follows her, and then ends up getting attacked by her. She pins him down.
Well, he sees that body hanging.
Yeah, she runs past him. He looks at the hanging body, and then she pins him while he's distracted by the hanging body.
Yes, yeah.
So we're thinking, is this a distraction that she set up? Because we kind of see the silhouette, like someone standing in the hallway.
Right.
And then he approaches it and realizes it's a like disemboweled
Dead
person hanging from the neck. And then while he's kind of like, ugh, she knocks him down and
she kicks his ass for the first of many times in this movie.
Yeah, she's pretty hardcore.
Yeah. She's the chick from Man of Steel.
Yes, she's one of the...
Feora.
Then we start establishing the disemboweled figure hanging is like the first horror element.
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean, we got
here's
Cooper.
Something scary.
This is our second dead body.
Right, but that was a guy got trapped in the ventilation shaft.
Yeah.
And just dried out. This guy was hung by some wire, and we can see some stuff rigged up in the beams. And he's disemboweled.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is a completely different animal from someone stuck in the ventilation shaft. That's kind of the introduction to the horror element, because then some monsters show up. At first, oh, they're people. But
Yeah,
then we
'cause
get a
we get
close up of
bobbing
their
lights,
face.
like their flashlights
And we
or
see like a humanoid shape kind of crouched.
Yep.
But then we get a close up of faces that are very deformed.
Well, we get a
humanoid.
jump scare because he backs into that room and then something runs past and we get the
Yeah,
like,
he's running away from the humanoid figures with the blue lights, and he kicks his glow stick down the hallway instead of being right in front of that door, and then he backs into the bootlocker room.
right. And then we get the like whoosh sound that
Yeah,
you always
whoosh.
get in horror movies when
Yeah,
something
as the
scary runs by the
Bad guy
door.
runs past the door.
Yeah. So we get an attempt at a jump scare here. Although the whole general tension is so high, I'm not sure. I didn't jump, but I'm not the best jump scare person. But I mean, it's fun. It's good. We immediately get, oh, okay, this isn't just a mystery. This is a horror mystery.
Right, now there's an enemy. There's something hunting.
Oh yeah, and his comm, which has been broken, suddenly gets better as soon as they
He's
creep
in
into the
range.
room.
I'm thinking it's just a point-to-point like communication device. They're not tapped into like the ship's systems.
Yeah.
And so when he came out of that ventilation shaft, he came out of range.
Right.
And so he climbs back up into the overhead compartment close to the ventilation shaft, and his comm starts working as the not person is like sniffing around the room.
Right.
And he freezes, grabs it to shut it up, and then we see the thing open a door. There's a scream, and then it's dragging a body out of the room. And we're like, oh man, did he get taken? But then we switch back to him up in the ventilation shaft, and Cooper's body is gone.
R.I.P. Cooper.
R.I.P. Cooper was already dead.
R.I.P. says Cooper.
So we don't know what they're doing with the bodies yet.
Yet. I mean, we can guess.
We can guess. They're eating the bodies.
Ew, Cooper's like jerky.
In the engineering room, Dennis Quaid is sitting at the console and he's pulling up information. He was able to run like a power diagnostic on the reactor. There may have been some information about like souls on board.
Yeah. But we do get a flashback to establish that Tanis is a nearby habitable planet. And so this is a group of settlers. This is a one-way trip.
Yes.
Because we kind of had like okay, maybe we can call for help vibe. But no, there's nobody.
Yeah, they summarize some details about the status of the ship, the capabilities of the ship from the engineering room. And they conclude, this is a one-way trip. There's too many people on board, and we're traveling too fast, and we're too far away, basically, to be any kind of just in our normal solar system.
Right. And then he asks Peyton about his wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bauer
Peyton's
asks
like,
Peyton
Peyton's
about
like,
Peyton's wife.
My wife. I have a wife. And he hints that they were all kind of sent in pairs since
Right.
it's a settling
It's
mission.
like, do you remember the breeding tests for the recruitment, whatever? Bauer kind of remembers a little piece of that.
Yeah.
And Peyton doesn't really have
make a
anything to
whole
say.
lot of, just as like you've seen the movie, so this isn't just spoiler alert, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because he says they were all sent in pairs and there was a breeding test. But then we find out that the reason Bauer even got on the ship is because his wife left him.
Right. His wife left. I think he was going to go on the ship.
No, she dumped him, and as he's leaving, he sees a commercial that's like, you should sign up and get on this ship to go to Tanis, because that's why the lady.
Well, I'm thinking he wanted to go, and he was like, I want to go, and she was like, no, and then he's like, well, shit.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go by myself.
So he went alone. I mean, either way, he went alone.
Right.
But in this scene, he's implying that they went in pairs. And then Peyton doesn't remember his wife, which doesn't really matter. But later, he sees the can, like the empty
a hibernation pod.
Yeah, empty can. They look like cans. But the empty hibernation pod for Peyton's wife, and he's like, I remember. But we don't ever establish whether Bauer and Peyton had a previous relationship.
Well, I think they didn't want to reveal the twist at the end that early.
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously.
Because if they'd had a flashback to Bauer and Peyton kind of palling around during training.
Right, no. I mean, obviously they didn't. But he sees Peyton's wife's empty hibernation chamber and he says, I remember. But we never establish what it is that he remembers.
Right, not until the end where he says, they're like, oh, well, Peyton's in here, right? And he says, that's not Peyton. Or he's not Peyton.
Right.
Right, that's
right, and then he gives that long.
Anyway,
okay, well, we'll get to it. I mean, we'll get to this at the end. I have a lot of questions about this interaction. I know where we're going with this. We're supposed to be like, oh, he doesn't remember he has a wife. That poor guy. Not, oh, that's actually not Peyton, and he really doesn't have a wife. Like, we're not supposed to get that from this interaction. But looking back, you do, of course, because you know how it ends. But this doesn't. It makes sense in a setup sense, but it doesn't really resolve, I think, the way they want it to resolve.
Right.
But anyway.
Okay, so then...
Segue.
Okay, so then he's asking Peyton to give him directions to the reactor. He finds an equipment room, checks out an anti-riot, non-lethal weapon thing. I don't know why he doesn't get any other equipment. You would think in an anti-riot room. That's the only
thing. I think it's only those little handheld weapons.
Right, but you might have armor or something.
He's not really it's just like a kiosk in the hallway.
Right, but in a ship where you have a large number of people potentially, or like after you settle, like the room with the anti-riot equipment, you would expect more comprehensive set of equipment.
This falls into the category of this
ends up being under-equipped.
This movie tries just hard enough. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but it tries just hard enough. So they know this guy needs a weapon, but if you give him anything else, they have to work harder plot-wise. So let's just give him a weapon. It's fine. If he's armored, the tension gets a little bit less. So they're trying just hard enough.
They just don't make it very plausible that he would be this under-equipped. Okay, so I guess that's the kind of the plot hole there. Is they're not justifying why he only gets this one little handgun thing.
He looks down and his hand is shaking. And that's when he's like, hey, Peyton, have you ever heard of Pandorum?
Right, so reference to the movie title.
You're like, look, there's the movie
and
title.
Peyton tells the story about people on like deep space missions that go crazy and...
Yeah, because someone, sometime in the first act, must state the theme.
Yes.
And then... So that would be Peyton.
And then this great line... at the end of his story about... as the example of Pandorum... we get this line.
At least we didn't wake up floating away in a coffin.
And then we realize Bauer's being followed.
Yep.
See, he finds another hanging guy, but it's
a different one.
Different body.
Yeah, he thinks he's hallucinating at first because we just had that like, is it Pandorum?
Does Bauer have Pandorum?
Oh, no. But no, he's not hallucinating. It's a completely different guy. In fact, it's Norman Reedus.
And he's still alive. Yes, and he realizes it's a booby trap because he's an engineer.
Yeah, his engineering sense tells him that this is probably a booby trap on account of there's a bunch of pulleys and wires and shit.
Right.
Normally people don't set up pulleys and wires to hang.
So the guy's kind of thrashing. He holds him still, tells him, I'll get you down, engineers it, and snips the right wire and gets the guy down. And this guy is...
Yeah, he's dropping a lot of F-bombs. And what I want to know is, was this in the script? Or did
did
he
he
just show up
improvise?
and he was like, bitch, you know who you hired. And he just started throwing him in. Because there's not a ton of cussing in this movie. I mean, it's not PG, obviously, because there's a lot of people getting eaten and stuff. But there's not a lot of cussing. But this guy, it's like every other word. And he
Right.
is aggressively angry for somebody who got caught in a trap. He's like, you don't know anything. You don't know what's going on. You don't know how to survive. Be like, okay, well, which one of us got caught in a trap here? Oh, that'd be you.
I think this would have been a good opportunity to reveal some kind of information, even if it's information that the viewer is already aware of,
Yeah.
just for the sake of Bauer getting a little bit better idea. Because even at this point, the viewer knows more than Bauer does. And they're keeping Bauer in the dark, like, unreasonably.
Yeah. But this guy is angry and unhelpful, and he's just like aggressively upset about how little Bauer knows, even though he doesn't know anything more. And he's like, you gotta leave. You're gonna get me killed. And then he gets recaptured and killed. Like immediately.
Right. Very short chase scene.
Yeah. But then
And-
Bauer tries to shoot one of them, and it's a really interesting scene because he shoots his riot gun. He gets all dramatic. He points it. He pulls the trigger. And oh, there's a glass wall between them that he didn't notice until that moment. Which it doesn't shatter. It
just attracts attention to him.
just attracts attention. And we get our first introduction to what these things look like.
Right.
Which they're very almost human, noseless, bony, creepy. Just like gross, tribal type.
Kind of goblin-y.
Goblin-y, I guess.
Yeah, like Lord of the Rings goblin-y.
Yeah, except without the big eye. Well, they kind of have big eyes, I guess. Yeah. Not human, that's what we're getting. Maybe was human at one time, not human now.
Right. So then he's running away from them. They're chasing. He trips on a tripwire. It snags around his foot. He goes off a ledge. Inside of this ship, there's just giant empty spaces.
Yeah, there's a lot of this is not well laid out. Like
It kind of,
yeah.
some of the layout reminds me of Event Horizon, where the ship is laid out really weirdly, and you have just spaces created to produce an effect in the viewer that are not like
practical. Yeah, this ship looks like it was designed by committee.
Like they told the set team, you can have anything you want.
Can we have big pits? Yeah, fine. You can have big pits. Okay.
Where's the gravity coming from?
Okay, so when we have the
Nobody
hypersleep,
cares where the
when we have the
gravity's coming
hypersleep
from.
chamber, do we have to like stack them efficiently, or can they just be poking out willy nilly in like spherical
Literally
chambers and
just
shit?
haphazardly stacked shipping containers. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh no, shipping containers get haphazardly stacked, but 16,000 hibernating people can't be stacked efficiently. Oh no, we all need like 10 to 15
it's
feet
like
of
a
space
circular
between us.
stadium with tiers. And it kind of looks like the Mako reactor in Final Fantasy VII. And you have the pods where like Cloud was grown.
Yeah.
And they're just like, they're like 15, 20 feet apart.
Right.
At an angle.
It's clearly set up for a fight scene. Like not set up for like
it's not
efficient space.
human
No.
storage. Yeah.
It's so we can weave around these while we're battling each other. Oh, so he gets caught on that tripwire. He falls down the pit of nonsense. And then he
grabs a bundle of wires.
Yes.
And he has this line tied around his foot. And then he's holding on tight, trying to stay quiet. But then they start pulling the line. Until the Asian ninja guy shows up and cuts the wire.
The agricultural team member.
The ninja that doesn't speak English.
No.
There should be a common language of all the people on the ship.
Unless you have a translator. Like unless you have a functioning universal translator that's not functioning.
Yeah.
Matt did his like head bob. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Here's falls into this movie is trying just hard enough.
Right. It's purely so they can't exchange information.
Yes, this is a plot mechanism. It's a heavy-handed plot mechanism because it doesn't make a ton of sense that they're letting this team. Oh, I guess, yeah.
You could have even had him be mute, right?
Well,
Like give him a mouth injury or a tongue injury, and he can't talk. And
but then he would have understood English. And part of it is that this guy also doesn't understand English.
Right,
So.
which is very implausible for a colony ship.
Oh, and he's lost his communicator and all the kerfuffle. So he can't even talk to Peyton anymore. No, we're out of contact with Peyton. So we get a flashback to Peyton.
In the engineering room.
Yes, and he's trying to break through the door. And he hears something in the ventilation
shuffling
shaft.
around.
Yeah. So he seals the shaft just as his nose starts bleeding. And we cut back to Bauer.
Is there a handshake scene with Peyton also?
Handshake scene?
Like shaky hand?
No, just the nose bleeding. Yeah, no. Because we've already established that shaking hands is a Pandorum symptom.
And nosebleeds.
Oh, is it?
And ear bleeds.
Yeah, but we haven't talked about that yet.
It was just in the visualization of Peyton's story.
Oh, yeah. Right. But
the guy had blood coming out of all the orifices. We're leaving that as a
subtle, maybe Peyton isn't as well as he appears.
Right. All right. Then the lady shows up again. Do we actually find out what her name is?
I'm not sure that we ever actually do, because she's not wearing enough clothing to hold a name tag. What's she going to do? Pin it to her ample décolletage? She doesn't have anywhere to put it.
She kind of has a uniform jacket that's had the sleeves ripped off.
It looks like a smaller friend of hers died and she cannibalized her outfit.
Yes,
and she can't zip it all the way up.
Yeah, it looks like she's wearing a size too small. But let's see. Ninja Guy and Bauer end up in the room of haphazardly stacked shipping containers, and German lady shows up, and then she's kind of jumping around, almost like she's wearing a wire, like
in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yes,
yeah.
Bauer climbs up on one, fires off the gun, anti-riot gun, to just get everybody's attention.
Which, hey, it's the first time he's successfully hit anything with it.
He hit their attention.
Makes
a speech.
I understand that it's felt like every man for himself. If we're going to get out of this, a little fucking solidarity goes a long way.
And convinces her to guide them all to the reactor so he can fix things and they don't all have to die when the ship fails.
She takes them down the hall, and then they have to wait for a power surge to get into her lab space.
Yes, they're in the hallway. They hear baddies. I don't think they have a name for them.
Bonies.
Bonies? They call them bonies?
No, but we can call them bonies.
We'll call them bonies. Okay. The bonies are coming. They hear him skittering around the hallways. And she's just standing at this door with her hand on a hand scanner. Which is not operational because the power's off.
Wait.
And they're like, we got to go. She keeps her hand there. Just wait. She's waiting for a power surge. So just as the bonies get close, power surge comes on. The hand scanner comes online, scans her in. She opens the door. They get through, closes behind them. They're safe.
Boom, yeah.
And they're in her sweet pad.
Yeah, her pretty sweet pad. It's pretty nice. It's like the Noah's Ark part of the ship, which is, again, 98% wasted space.
Right. It's just a giant. It reminds me of Cerebro from the X-Men movie.
It does look like Cerebro because it's a big like wall of twinkly lights, which are supposed to be plant
The
and
genetic
animal.
samples.
And, yeah, the entire biosphere of the Earth transported in this ship, which we established in the earlier flashback that Tanis has plant and animal life.
Right. Are they going to completely eradicate
which
the
means
natural life on Tanis?
apparently part of our colonization efforts will be to destroy all life on Tanis and replace it with all life from Earth.
They kind of did something similar in one of the
Benevolently.
Expanse books. They end up on this alien planet that has life, and the plan was to have this like very insulated community with minimal contamination, so that way they could study the native life on this planet. But then settlers show up, like people just show up at the planet before the like officially sanctioned colony
Squatters.
leaves. Yeah, squatters show up and claim mineral rights or whatever. They start mining for stuff, but they just throw their shit everywhere and contaminate the biosphere.
God, I hate realistic sci-fi books. I don't want to know humanity is going to be shitty still in the future. That's why I watch Star Trek, because I want to believe we're going to be better.
Yeah.
So thanks for convincing me not to read that book.
Yeah, like you were going to read that.
I might have.
You might have.
If somebody recommended it using our new recommendation feature on our website, I might have.
The feature that will exist.
Maybe yes.
By the time this podcast is released.
Depends on if you can write a website faster than I can edit audio.
That's a challenge. Challenge accepted.
Back to the movie, we do establish that pretty much everybody has lost all of their memories of the time before the ship. Or
Yes.
BS, as we should call it from here on out. German lady whose name on IMDb is Nadia, but I'm not sure that she ever introduces herself as Nadia. Says,
Nadia is like 6 months BS.
Yeah.
Bauer is like 6 hours BS.
It works, okay?
I like this chronological system.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so we're hanging out in Nadia's pad, and she says,
How could we become like this in only 8 years?
This ship was built to outlast our children's children. I think we've been asleep longer than you think.
quote number 47, I guess.
That's the time in the movie that I need to look for to get it.
Okay. Then we cut back to Peyton. Peyton's
But wait. Let me address the fact that she says, I think we've been asleep longer than we think. Because Nadia is the only person who consistently guesses correctly about what is happening on this ship. So I just want it to escape no one's notice that the only female character in the entire movie
It's also the most astute.
is also the most astute. She knows what's up. She survived a really long time. Her only real failing is that she tried to steal a man's boots when she was like 15 feet away from a room
Full of
boots.
Okay, so she has a little bit of her story. They chat a little bit. Then we cut back to Peyton.
Back to Peyton.
And Peyton is like tweaking. He's having a rough time.
Some dude, like the wall gives birth to a dude.
Yes, the ventilation, some opening gives birth to a greasy naked man. He has no uniform, but he seems to have all of his memories, and he's traumatized.
Yeah, and he says he comes from the bridge, and it's the Twilight guy from the bridge from the very beginning.
Yes, yeah, he was on the bridge when they received the message from Earth. So Peyton kind of gets him cleaned up. He says his name is Gallo.
Oh, he does not clean him up.
Oh, yes.
No.
That's a good point.
Yeah, he does not. At this point, this guy is just like freaking out, incoherent, and then he passes out. And that's it. We've cut from Peyton back to Bauer, and Bauer's like, oh, they're passing through that like
yeah. So
sleep
Nadia, Nadia's like Nadia and Bauer kind of pop up into this room. It's like the stadium, like stacked tiers. Where
like
all the hibernation
10
pods
hibernation pods in it.
like way too far apart.
Yeah.
And she says she usually doesn't go this far or this deep because this is their main hunting ground. So anyway, they climb out. They start walking around. And then Bauer gets really fixated on his wife. He's like, this is where the people would be. Like the companions, like the other this would be flight crew families. And he's suddenly really fixated on his wife, even though he knows that the reactor is an imminent failure.
Yeah.
He's the only one who can fix it. They urgently need to get there, regardless of who is in any of these hibernation pods. The most important thing to do right now is he needs to get to the reactor and fix it.
Look, from Bauer's point of view, like 6 hours ago, he was having a sex dream.
Yeah, he might just be really horny.
I mean, then he woke up, he got thrown out into this world, and shit's messed up, but my wife is somewhere on this ship. And, you know, he was just having a pleasantly white, bright dream. And he just wants to get back to that.
Very gentle, soft dream.
No, it doesn't make any sense that he's fixated on his wife. It feels
Unless
like,
he's suffering from Pandorum.
It just feels like real heavy-handed attempt at like a tension building thing here. Like we can't have him logical and focused because we're not going to get the tension we were hoping to get out of this moment. So we got to add a little.
If he was,
we got add a little something something. So let's have him be upset about his wife, but it doesn't come off except as a way to remind the viewer about the fact that he and Peyton supposedly have partners somewhere on this ship.
Okay, so then they're walking through. When they first climbed up into this room, Ninja Guy goes on like high alert and looks the other way, and she's like, "He's hunting. Leave him." And Bauer's like, "But he needs to come with us.
But
like,
my
we're
friend, though.
We're a team." But my friend. He was my first friend. He saved my life.
I don't know what he's saying. That just makes it nicer to be around him.
Okay, so they walk down. Ninja Guy's off somewhere else. They end up falling through one of the floor grates into this like cesspool of human remains.
Yeah, it's gross.
Under these like turbine fan blades.
Which make no sense.
Which we were pretty sure there was going to be a tense moment. So he climbs out and then she's getting ready to climb out. We were like, the fan blades are going to turn on when the power surges. That didn't happen.
Missed opportunity. You can't put
Chekhov's rifle.
You can't put a big ass fan in a sci-fi horror movie like that. Have them fall into a cesspool of rotting bodies.
A constrained space with giant fan blades.
Yeah. And then
the fan blades have to turn on.
They do turn on.
No.
When they're in the water, they turn on and spin and then they stop, don't they?
Okay. But I don't know if it's like implied that they're in danger.
It's not. It happens when the bad guys are running by. So
right. So that's kind of why.
It just gives us it
gives them enough cover.
It gives them enough cover, and it gives us that like photo flash view of the bad guys running by as
like
the blade
strobing
spins.
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's purely for effect because he climbs out after the bad guys pass over. And then he tries to pull her out, but apparently she can leap small buildings, but she can't fucking lift herself out of this tiny little spot.
Where's her wire now?
Where's your wire now? So he climbs out first, and of course, he gets attacked.
She does end up climbing out, and then Ninja Guy shows up.
Well, she rescues him. She like throws herself at the guy.
Right, but the ninja guy shows up, and all three of them are fighting this one bony, and poorly.
Matt said that's probably exactly what a D&D fight looks like.
Right, where you have three like low-level characters fighting one enemy who's rated at the difficulty level for a team of that level. Right? It's just they're all wailing on this person, on this enemy, and the enemy is just hitting back harder. And anyway, they end up killing the bony and getting away. Oh, wait, just as a hibernation pod opens up and a guy kind of wakes up like, what's going on here? I've been asleep for a long time. And Bauer is trying to get back to this hibernation pod to save the person. And Nadia and Ninja are pulling him away. It's like, but we got to save him. No, you're not going to save him. Anyway, they get away. And then guy that just woke up gets kind of eaten alive.
Kind of eaten alive. Sort of. I feel like at this point in the movie, we're relying on the inherent grossness of like rotting flesh, cannibalism to keep us like in, because we've already had the monster reveal and we're getting tons of monster. So we're getting a lot of FaceTime with the bonies. So they're starting to lose their inherent
shock value.
Their inherent shock value. So we're having to dredge shock value up. So we get pits of rotting corpses. We get dudes waking up only to be eaten immediately alive. Lots of hitting a lot of phobias here. Setting the tone. Hitting a lot of phobias here. So
the deeper we go, the worse the bonies get.
Right. Then we jump back to
Peyton and Gallo.
Yeah. And he's trying to get more out of Gallo because Gallo is woken back up. But he's still dirty in this moment. But he's dressed, at least. Oh, no. He's got like a sheet draped over him. And he's got a good creep vibe going. I mean, this guy already looks creepy. Everything that he's in, I've always felt he looks creepy. So this was a good casting choice because he's got a good creep vibe going. And he's just hammering the Pandorum thing. They are just really trying to justify this title. Because I think if you did a shot every time this guy said Pandorum, you wouldn't make it through this movie alive.
Yeah, you'd be drinking as much as I did during the Highlander episode.
Which explains the Highlander episode.
Okay, so I think we get a little bit more detail a little bit more info out of Gallo.
Some.
Yeah. Is this where Gallo says he killed his
He's like,
crewmates?
I did what I had to do.
They were both of them at the same time.
He's like, I know the odds were astronomical and all, but like both of them had Pandorum at the same time.
It's an emotional trigger, and there was an emotional event. They were traumatized by it, and it triggered their Pandorum.
Yeah, it triggered their Pandorum, not mine.
But not mine. Totally not mine.
Not mine.
I did what I had to do to save the ship. I guess we cut back to
Bauer
and the team. There's
the A team down there.
the B team, the Bauer team.
Oh, the Bauer team. There you go.
There's some kind of goopy stuff on the walls.
Oh no, that we get to that crewmate with like they go through a door and they seal it up behind them, and then they realize that they're kind of at the bottom of a shaft, and there's a dude up above them.
Yeah, there's like a catwalk higher up in the room.
Yeah.
And there's somebody up there. And they're stuck down in the bottom of this room. And they're trying to have a conversation. And he ends up telling the story of Gallo.
But before that, Nadia gets another moment where she calls it right. Because she's talking about where did these creatures come from? Because Bauer's like, where did these people come from? And so she reminds him that they had an accelerator in their hyperbunk cocktail, obviously, and they may have made some of the crew adapt to the ship because they were supposed to adapt to the environment of Tanis as soon as they got out. So what if these people have adapted to the ship instead? Which apparently means making
Instead
new
of adapting
cannibals.
to the planet Tanis.
Yes.
Yeah. They can move around the ship really well, and they're hyper violent, and there's some kind of food supply available at random intervals.
Yeah, when people wake up. So she's talking about that, and that's when the guy up above on the catwalk chimes in, and he's like, "Ho ho, I know what happened." And so he has apparently made a mural.
He's carved it into the walls.
He's carved a mural into the wall. So he's got way more BS than even Nadia does. He's like,
oh, he's been around longer.
He's been around a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His before ship memories.
They run a lot deeper. A lot deeper than Nadia's. So he talks about what's happening. And then we do go back to Peyton. Right after we get like so apparently the transmission that they got, which conveniently he gives this entire story in rhyme.
And we slept a slumber so deep that no one had did before. As 3 little Indians were left behind the storm.
Especially at the beginning.
He's practiced it a lot.
Yeah. It's I mean, for a plot reveal, it's good. It's good. It doesn't feel like
I think it works
dump.
with the scrawled, like engraved pictograms on the wall, like flashing between those and this guy dramatically telling the story.
Yeah.
It definitely like kind of carries the whole momentum of the movie so far.
Right. It makes it feel a little bit less exposition dumpy, but we find out that the transmission arrived, and what it was really saying was, Earth's gone and you guys are the last people, the last humans. So don't fuck it up. Peace. Or I think they say good luck.
And Godspeed.
And Godspeed. Right. And then one of the members of the people on the bridge, because there was only 3 people awake at the time, one of them lost their shit and killed the other 2. And then started playing games with all the passengers. And so that's what got them to where they are now. And we're jumping back and forth between this guy telling us what's happening and Gallo telling Peyton
what he
did.
Right. So we're kind of establishing that the lone guy in this random guy's story
is Gallo.
And Gallo in Gallo's story are the same person.
Right. And Gallo is now clean.
Yes. Gallo is mysteriously
clean and wearing clothes.
Yes. He's wearing a uniform.
Yes.
And did we see his tattoo yet?
No, because no.
It was still while he was laying on the floor wrapped up in a sheet. Peyton went over and got a look at his tattoo and saw he was Flight Team 4.
Okay, we've seen Gallo's tattoo.
Yes, we've seen Gallo's tattoo.
Yes.
We know Gallo was Flight Team 4, which means he was the he was the last flight team to be on a regular rotation.
Right.
So Gallo, after he killed his crewmates, just took over the ship, turned off, disabled the crew rotation, and just kind of had his way with the ship for a while.
Yeah,
and then he got bored and went back into hypersleep.
Right. We're getting there's 2 different ways that people react to the idea that everything that they've ever known is gone. So you either realize you are now the one who has to uphold all the authority and the rules and the law that you previously ascribed to, or you get all morality is gone, all gods are dead, I am the new morality, I am the new god people.
Right.
So clearly that's how Gallo felt. If Earth is dead, then God is dead. So I am God.
All right. So then after new guy up on the catwalk finishes his story, I think it's like interspersed with the story, but he's cooking, right? He's cooking them
he says
something.
he's a chef.
And
he's using a motor oil base.
He says there's not much you can do with a motor oil base.
Yeah.
But, okay, whatever. And so then he puts stuff in a basket and lowers it down, which he has all this stuff rigged up.
Right. Which they don't.
Which means he's done this before.
Right.
But they haven't seen any other people. So, anyway, then everybody... I don't know if everybody eats or not, but then everybody starts feeling woozy and passes out.
Knocks them out.
And wakes up hanging by their feet.
I think it's supposed to be gas.
Yes, because they're lower in the room.
Right.
The gas.
And Nadia tries to open the door.
Yeah.
To let fresh air in. Or to get out, one or the other. Then they wake up and they're hanging upside down. So I noted that Bauer tried to roll a charisma check to get them out of being eaten.
Successfully. Natural 20.
Yes, because he convinces the cannibal not to cannibalize them. So that's good.
In fact, to help them. So now, player 4 has entered the game.
Woohoo! This is the finding your
party members.
Yeah, finding your party members part of the sci-fi-horror movie. We've got we got 5 people on the team. We got Peyton, we got Nadia, Ninja, Bauer, and new guy. Yeah, so Nadia's a rogue, obviously.
All right.
Oh, no.
Classes?
No, Nadia's a druid. Because she's...
Ninja guy's a monk.
Yeah, Ninja guy's a monk. Nadia's a druid because she's the one who's trying to, like, transport all the life. She's like the biologist.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's the druid. Bauer is paladin.
Bauer's absolutely a paladin.
He's fucking a paladin. He's a paladin. Yeah, absolutely. And then cannibal guy?
Would he be a rogue?
Or
maybe
sorcerer?
A warlock?
Could be a bard. He did just tell the entire backstory in rhyme.
He did. Yes.
Yeah.
He had a big lore dump.
Yeah. I want to go bard.
Yeah.
What does that make Peyton?
Maybe Peyton's the warlock.
Yeah.
Because he's made a deal with dark powers.
Ooh, yeah. I like that. All right, good. We've got the character classes for our found party. Sweet.
Okay, so Peyton is a warlock and Gallo is his patron?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
All right, there you go, guys. Let's make the
D&D classes for the movie characters.
I got to roll up some sheets.
Let's see. We cut back to Peyton and Gallo. Gallo's nose was bleeding, and he's super worked up. So it's like he's got Pandorum because we got to throw that word around.
I mean, we're getting pretty close to the end here because after he rolls that charisma check and he convinces the cannibal guy not to eat them, he gets Peyton to run a made up name test, which I imagine in the script just said tech test.
Yes, like in the old Star Trek scripts, it would
Tech.
just say so and so text the tech, and then the science consultants would fill in the words with jargon.
He tech tests the reactor.
And he's got 47 minutes
surprise,
left.
You've got 47 minutes to live, and so they have to make it to the reactor ASAP.
We cut back to Peyton and Gallo.
How do you think you would react if you knew the truth?
The truth? About what?
And Peyton is trying to give Gallo an injection.
Yeah, sedation.
But ends up putting him in the hibernation pod. And Gallo is just madman ranting at him. And so Peyton hits the mute switch. Because he's inside the hibernation pod. We established very early on that the hibernation pods are completely soundproof.
Right.
He can still hear Gallo in the hibernation pod.
Even when he's muted.
even after he hits the mute switch. So now, whoa.
Oh, snap.
Gallo's not normal, or Gallo's not actually there, and Gallo is just in Peyton's head.
You do not want to go in there, Corporal? What are you gonna tell them, huh?
Bauer will be coming back here.
Shut up.
They'll know what you did.
We're getting a lot of really well done illusion in this scene to the
Yes,
fact
it's
that
extremely well executed illusion.
because we get a part where Gallo is yelling and you see only the back of Dennis Quaid's head and you see the back of Gallo's head. So
And he kind of does like the
sure.
shoulder stretch, like the shoulder movement, like he's screaming.
Yeah.
And we're hearing Gallo like yell screaming, but we're seeing Peyton, Dennis Quaid, from behind, like throwing his head back, shoulders open up.
moving as if he is the one speaking.
Right.
And we also established that Gallo's nose is bleeding, but then when Peyton goes to do something on the control.
It's after Gallo breaks out of the hibernation chamber, we see the control board and it has blood drips all over it.
Yeah.
So while Gallo has been ranting, pacing around the room, his nose has been dripping and we've been seeing blood drops hitting a metallic surface.
Right.
And it's implied that it's just him pacing around the room, dripping blood on the floor. But then after, let's see, Gallo breaks out of the hibernation pod. Peyton gets the injection gun and tries to pin him down. And then their arms merge. We can finally see Peyton's tattoo on his arm, and it's the same as Gallo's tattoo. And then their arms merge together.
And oh snap, they're the same person.
And then Peyton's face is all covered in blood dripping from his nose.
Right, because they were the same person all along.
Right. But up until this time, Peyton's face had still been clean.
We also, in the midst of all that, get Bauer seeing Peyton's wife's capsule and just saying, I remember.
Yes, they're in another room of hibernation pods.
He also remembers that his wife dumped him.
Yep.
So,
Which opens up Nadia as a love interest.
yeah, because Nadia's like, well, then she saved your life. Oh, did she?
Either way, she's dead.
Yeah, so I'm so glad that she influenced me into being on this spaceship where I'm being chased by actual fucking cannibals. This was
Monster
definitely
cannibals.
worth the divorce. The B team, the found party, finally make it down to the reactor. And all the bad dudes are cuddled up for sleepy time underneath the
and
reactor.
There's like chambers underneath it. It reminds me of like the Titanic, the ship had like bulkheads separating like chambers of the ship.
Yeah.
But this one, it's a circular room and like pie cut sections of the circle are separated by these bulkheads. But then each of these bulkhead separated chambers are filled with sleeping cannibal monster things. So they're walking across this bridge to the reactor control panel and the bridge collapses.
Yeah.
Oh no. Bauer slips. He's hanging off. Anyway, he ends up falling down,
Yeah.
covering himself in like
plot. We end up covered in discarded skin.
gross.
Yeah.
Which they're kind of stretching for the like scary aspect of the movie. They've shifted from like well executed like psychological thriller horror into just gore.
I think we're doing so much hop here between the psychological horror that we're supposed to be getting with like the Peyton Gallows situation and the classical horror, monster horror, space horror that we're getting from the Bauer team, that they're really ramping both up at the same time to make both feel impactful.
I think the gore aspect kind of detracts from the plot.
Well, we're trying to get an equal tone here because we just hit a real high note in the Peyton storyline.
Right.
If we went back over and they just fixed the reactor without any of this shit happening, it would feel a lot less. It would feel a lot less important. It already has become a slightly more boring. I want to go back to Peyton. I want to know what's happening there.
Right.
I don't even care if this reactor breaks down or whatever anymore. Just can we have Bauer fixing it in the background? So what they're trying to do is be like, okay, guys, there's a reason we're still showing you Bauer.
Keep the intensity up.
We're
for
trying
the
to
Bauer
keep
scene.
the intensity of both up. We have intensity over here. We have to match intensity over here. So clearly, if this guy, the big reveal is he's actually the same person, then we have to have something equally intense, which I guess equated to wrapping ourselves in dead people's skin.
I think
and
a better
climbing over the
option,
bad guys.
instead of the just like almost gratuitous gore of Bauer wrapping himself in the like remains of the cannibals' victims, instead we could have gone like a similar psychological route with Bauer. Like late at the very end, like fight scene, Bauer kind of starts to go crazy. I think that would have been a better option for the reactor scene, where he kind of starts to go crazy when he has to creep among the cannibal monsters.
So we'd get psychological with psychological.
Right. We'd be
Like for like.
parallel psychological trauma, whereas Peyton Gallo is integrating his psychosis. We could have had like
He's breaking apart.
Symmetry.
Yeah.
Bauer splitting.
Yes.
And having somebody else show up, like an alternate version of himself or whatever. I think that would have been a better move at this point, rather than the gratuitous gore.
Yeah.
It may just be me. I'm not a gore fan.
Well, it's because the monster's losing he's shiny, right?
Yeah.
So the bonies have been, we've seen them several times now. We've seen a couple creepier versions of them. They've done creepy shit, but after a while, they're monsters. They're scary. We can make them scarier by making more of them, but we can't make them more than what they already are.
We've already seen them.
We've peaked.
In
The
full
monster
light.
storyline has peaked.
You've fully visually exposed to the monster.
Yeah, which we do kind of, once we have ramped up with the dead body gore wrapping scene, the cannibal guy who did not go down to the reactor with them drops his flashlight and wakes up all the monsters.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's another thing where we're stepping it up. We're ramping it up to try to match intensity in both storylines.
Yeah, so that kicks off Bauer having to climb the ladder really quickly to get to the control panel for the reactor.
Yeah.
And then
which he just has to like beep boop beep and hold his little arm out and hey.
Right, like move some things around and put in that should have been an automated recovery mechanism.
Maybe
Anyway.
it was, spoiler alert, 900 years ago. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not know that this ship is actually 900 years old at this point? Well, you should have watched the movie. But the reactor discharge, restart, whatever, kills all the bad guys because, of course, you're sleeping under a reactor. That's what you get.
Right. And that's probably why there's all the bulkheads down there, is
Yeah.
to separate the reactor discharge, whatever.
And right after that is actually when we get the sleeve rolled up tattoo merging scene.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a little
It's
bit
all,
out of
they're
order.
interspersed here. I mean, it's,
You're
if you
flashing back and forth.
Yeah, if you lump
a
all
lot.
the flashbacks together and you lump all the reactor stuff together, they're kind of happening concurrently. So it makes sense to talk about them.
Right. And then as soon as the power's back online, Peyton Gallo is able to just go open the door to the bridge.
enter Pippin.
Scritchy scritch. So he immediately walks to the bridge. The rest of the team is leaving the reactor, but Ninja Guy got separated.
Yeah.
And he sees the baby cannibal monster, and is like, oh, it's just a kid. And so he has the big fight scene with the leader that had their nose cut off.
Yes, the no-nose leader guy. Where the no-nose guy actually rearms agricultural guy. He throws him a spear.
It's honorable combat.
Yeah. Like, I want this to be a challenge.
So Ninja wins. Kid shows up. He's like, oh, it's just a kid. So he puts his guard down, and then Kid whips out a sword, basically, and slices his throat open and digs in for dinner. And then we cut back to the A team or the B team arriving at the bridge.
Well, actually, creepy cannibal guy arrives first.
That's
and
right.
He greets Peyton like he knows him. Peyton Gallo. He greets him like he knows him. He's like, hey, boss, I got them to the reactor. Just
right.
Like you said.
I think he's just trying to be very familiar so that Peyton Gallo will be friendly to him.
Okay.
I don't think he actually recognizes
All right,
Gallo.
that makes
or
more
Peyton.
sense because it gets a little squiffy if you don't know how long Peyton's been asleep and how long this guy's been awake. But it doesn't really matter because Gallo/Peyton immediately just stabs him in the eyeball with a hypodermic needle.
Yeah.
Which kills him.
The needle that he did not inject himself with.
He did, though.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't think I didn't get the sense that he successfully actually injected himself with anything.
Oh, only that he had it like in his skin.
Right.
Huh.
Like he was close to, injecting Gallo, which was himself, with it, but then he didn't actually pull the trigger because
okay.
Gallo took over before he pulled the trigger.
That would make more sense.
So then,
because this guy really just
knocked
gets
him
stabbed
out.
in the eyeball. It doesn't really.
There's like injection stuff kind of gooping out of his eyeball.
Gross.
So I think that was the injection.
I'd probably checked out of the whole gore phenom at this point.
Yeah, it was. I'm not a gore fan. It was a little, made it a little bit boring for me. The gore.
I mean, the whole plot's fine. I just feel like we could have had a little bit less blood and guts, and we could have driven up the psychological aspect a little more, and it would have been a more nuanced movie.
Okay, so then the B team arrives at the bridge. No sign of Peyton Gallo at this point. And we have the reveal that Bauer knows that Peyton is not Peyton.
Yes.
And so he says...
Because he remembered.
He remembered the wife. So he says...
That's all I have.
You wouldn't want to receive the final transmission. You stayed awake, you broke the rotation, you killed your crew.
How the hell would you know that?
Where are we?
They're looking around the bridge a little bit, and then Peyton Gallo is in the captain's chair. He does kind of an exposition dump to try to sell Bauer on going crazy.
This scene is too long.
Yeah.
The scene is too long. I get where we're going. We're supposed to be seeing that, like, Bauer's finally losing it. Like,
he's cracking.
Even though he's known that Peyton was Gallo since he saw Peyton's wife's tube and he, quote, remembered whatever it was he remembered. Thank you, Pippin. He's losing it now. Like, reality, his grip on reality is fading.
Right. He's starting to hallucinate.
If we had peppered some references in, or the idea that he was losing it a little bit more frequently throughout if we had done what you suggested. It seems
pretty abrupt.
Yeah,
here.
If we get a little bit more fracturing back in the reactor scene, this scene makes more sense. It feels more tense. I don't really believe that Bauer's falling apart right in this moment. I mean, we get some creepy filmmaking. They're really trying to sell us on the idea that Bauer is losing it right here and right now. Not when he was wrapped in dead people's skin, crawling over monsters, trying to restart that. No. He had a job to do then. But the job is done.
He had a purpose.
He had a purpose. And so now he's free to, I don't know, lose his shit. Whatever. Anyway, but this scene is too long. It's just too long. It goes on forever. And I just want Dennis Quaid to shut up by the end of it. And for some reason, Nadia's just standing there. She does eventually attempt to fight back, but it feels like this is the last 45 minutes of the movie.
Right. It's like the last 7 minutes of the movie, but it feels a lot longer.
Yeah, and Dennis Quaid is just talking, and you're just like, please stop talking. But we do get the cut to the floating display over one of the control boards that says the mission has been going on for 923 years.
Yes.
And we get the big reveal that, hey guys, they've been on Tanis this whole time.
Yeah, so Peyton Gallo is sitting in the captain's chair, and he opens up the shielding over the bridge front window, and he's like, just look, he's completely snapped. He just wants to destroy everything because that's the only thing left to do, because everything meaningful has been removed from his entire life. So he just wants to destroy the ship and see it all burn. And so he looks out of the bridge window, and they're all like, where are the stars? It's all just black. And Peyton Gallo's like, yeah, see? The world's just gone to shit. The universe is gone. We just need to die, right? And then
blah 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 blah
blah blah blah. Way too long. And then we see some bioluminescent sea creatures.
Right.
We're underwater.
On Tanis.
And
we have been. All along.
For 800 years.
For 800 years. And he's like, for a spaceship, it doesn't float very well. Okay, whatever.
Right, and Peyton Gallo knew they were on Tanis.
Right, but he chose violence.
But he chose despair and violence.
And mutation and death and dismemberment and cannibalism. He chose a lot of things, but helping everybody get off the ship. And hey, he could have freed everyone immediately, set up a little community, and declared himself king.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to... His rant is pretty much all about how he's free from morality because Earth died. And when Earth died, he was free to do whatever he wanted because God died too. So if you're really free to do whatever you want, do you really set up a situation where you could easily die? Although he's clearly locked himself in this room. Because he's trapped in that room the entire time that Bauer is out and about. The only way he gets out is when he resets the reactor and he's finally able to open the door. And that's it.
The critical moment here is the reactor is failing. And so all of the ship's systems are not functional.
Yeah.
And so even Peyton/Gallo, who has subverted all the controls on the ship so that he has all the power, even he cannot do what he wants to do anymore because he's let the ship degrade to this point.
Right.
Which is kind of a metaphor for late stage capitalism.
All right, well, heavy-handed.
I just came up with that right now.
Did you?
I don't know.
Just on the fly? You just threw that out at me?
I don't know how well that analogy holds up.
Okay, well, while you're Googling late-stage capitalism to make sure that your analogy fit with it, I think that there is a scene missing with Bauer. There's a scene that we don't have because he says he remembers at Peyton's wife's pod.
Yeah, M. Peyton.
Yeah, who doesn't even get a name, first of all. She just gets...
Doesn't even get a cameo.
Yeah, this is Peyton and Mrs. Peyton. We could have put her first name and Peyton as her second name. Or we could have...
Oh, okay, so that's interesting. On the flight crew hibernation pods, it's just their last name.
Yeah.
But then on his Peyton's wife's pod,
Mrs. Peyton.
it was just M. Peyton.
Right.
Literally Mrs. Peyton.
Literally Mrs. Peyton or married to Peyton or whatever. But no, we don't get a name. We just get Peyton's wife. But beyond that. He says, I remember, when he's standing there. And then when he meets up with Gallo in the bridge, he gives him a little exposition dump about everything that he had done. And Gallo says, how could you have possibly known all that? So he has some kind of knowledge he's not supposed to have. But we never clear up what exactly it is that he remembers.
That's a good point.
Because we don't ever get, did he wake up previously and get put back to sleep again? Is that why he's in there with Peyton? And so he would have remembered Peyton as Gallo because unless all three dudes, Cooper, Peyton, and Bauer, knew each other.
Right. Cooper, Peyton, and Bauer would have known each other from training.
But why are their pods isolated like that?
Oh, okay. So they... When did they do it? They mentioned that the rooms rotate. And so there's the bridge. The bridge is connected to the engineering control room. And then the engineering control room is connected to the flight crew room. And so I think there's like some room rotational thing that brings the next flight crew's hibernation room up to the door of the engineering room when it's their turn. And so you could have a large number of teams because we end up meeting somebody from Flight Team 6.
Right. And we established that there are 3 awake at a time.
Yeah, 3 people on each flight team. Each
Yes.
flight team is awake for 2 years. And it was on Gallo's Flight Team 4's first rotation. So Flight Team 5 has never woken up on the ship before.
Right. So Peyton, Cooper, and Bauer would all be in a flight team. So
Right.
yes, he would have known Peyton. But
Yes, he would.
But
he
he
would
would
known
not have
Peyton.
served with Peyton yet.
Right, but they would have known each other from training.
Right.
So when he goes to
Okay.
like the recruitment thing, it's like 953 days until launch.
Right.
So he's had multiple years of training for this ship.
Well,
for
I
this
feel
flight.
like that's a better explanation than we got in the movie, so I'm going to go with it. The theme of this movie is if we try just hard enough, it'll be creepy.
Right.
Because there's a lot here. And I feel like there's a lot more we could do here. But
I think they had planned a sequel, but the movie kind of bombed.
because in the end the ship floods. So they
Okay, so let's
we can
cover up
wrap
the
it
end.
up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's the fight scene with Bauer's kind of snapping. Peyton Gallo is like choking out Nadia, and Nadia is not really fighting back much.
Well, she's trying to get him to shoot him, but since Bauer is suddenly crazy,
Yeah,
he shoots the
bulkhead,
and it
He
launches
shoots off and chips the glass.
And since they're deep under the ocean, it shatters the glass. And
Yeah, so Bauer and Nadia go to Bauer's hibernation pod, which is also an escape pod, and
But
the
is
ship
not
recognizes a hull
waterproof?
breach.
Sorry, his
Well,
hibernation.
the water
pod's
is
not-
flooding in before the hibernation pod door closes.
right, but
As
as
they're
going
up,
out,
more water is
the
coming in.
remaining air leaves.
Right.
And yet earlier, when we had the Eden flashback and they ejected the pods, the one guy was like screaming inside the pod, implying that they did not immediately decompress when they were launched out into space.
Well,
So this is supposed to be a space-worthy
that guy's pod was not 900 years old. Also,
Fine.
let's call it material failure.
Okay. Let's call it trying just hard enough.
Okay, so Bauer, I think, manually hit the ejection command so that Bauer and Nadia get ejected. You see them kind of rising up to the surface of the ocean. And then you cut back to the ship, like emergency, hull breach detected, evacuating all like living people. And so then a whole bunch of other pods show up. So they pop up at the surface. Why does the door pop off?
Well, you said maybe it detected breathable atmosphere.
Maybe. I was just bullshitting. But
You?
me bullshitting?
Oh
what?
my God. That's it. I'm out. I gotta go.
Our whole marriage is a sham.
It's a sham. My whole life has been a lie.
I've been gaslighting you this whole time.
It's because it needs to. So we can look over
So they
and
can
see
sit
the
up
like
and see.
circa 1995 CG waterfall that's falling from the
2009, honey.
No.
That was ages ago
No.
in CG land.
No. That is like some missed shit. Like I'm playing
That was at least Riven level CG.
You remember when video games were like they'd take real people and they'd take like 12 positions of them and they'd just like shift them through the positions
Right. Okay.
to make
So
it look
Myst
like they were moving?
didn't have any moving stuff.
Okay, well,
Riven, which was the sequel to Myst, had a little bit more animation.
yeah, okay. Well, it looks like they took like a still photo of a hill,
I'm bullshitting again, by the way.
photoshopped it out, like pasted it behind a CG ocean, and then took like it's so bad, right? It's so bad. It's like, you know what? They blew their entire CG budget on that ship fly around at the very beginning.
And the nuclear reactor discharge.
Yeah, and that's it. Because otherwise, this is an elevator movie. We're in tiny enclosed spaces for the entire
With all
movie.
practical effects.
With all practical effects for the entire movie. Because, yeah, so they must have blown their CG budget. And they were just like, hey, does anybody have a cousin that knows how to use Photoshop?
Or After Effects.
Or After Effects, because it's so bad.
We need a beachy looking landscape.
Right. Ugh. It's...
Okay, anyway, so they pop up on the surface of the ocean. Their cover pops off so they can sit up and see the picturesque beachy landscape.
Which it doesn't... Okay, so it's a round cylinder with no keel, but they both sit up and like rock
Somehow
around
it still
in it,
balances,
and it
right?
still balances.
Okay. And then we see all the other pods start popping up and their doors shoot off. But these people still have all the tubes and everything in. Like they're not ready to sit up and like jump in the water and swim.
But hey, nobody's gonna eat them. So bonus.
No humanoid monsters are going to eat them.
Right.
But we don't know about the life that's in the ocean. Anyway, then we have a circle back to the intro sequence where we pan out and we get some text pop up. It says Tanis, year one. In reference to the Earth year event population number. Oh, no, it's like population 1,200 something.
Yeah.
Because that's all.
That's
of the
all that
16,000
survived.
people, there's only 1,200 left.
Yeah. Which luckily part of the ship is sticking up out of the water.
So they can get back in to get to the seed bank.
Get to the seed bank so that they can destroy all life on Tanis and rebuild it from the ashes. Just like Gallo did. Oh. All right, so hot take on this movie? It's good. I mean, it's a sci-fi horror.
Yeah. I think when I first watched it, I watched it again almost right away. And I enjoyed it. It's a fun movie to watch. It's not internally coherent.
It didn't change my life. I don't feel like I'm going to be thinking about this movie except as like a, what the fuck? But not in like a, that made me think. This is not a made me think movie. This is I enjoyed my hour and 45 minutes. This isn't Prince of Persia. I don't want my hour and a half back, just like he got his entire time back. So it's good. I mean, rewatch score, I'd say for me is probably like a 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I wanted a good horror movie, I might put it back on. I might put it back on to watch it now that I know the twist, so that I could see all the...
see if there's any other details, clues drop.
Pick out all the little, if there are any, the little breadcrumbs. I might do that again, but...
I think I'd probably watch Event Horizon over this movie if I was looking for a space horror.
Because it's a better movie.
It's so the execution is so much tighter.
It's fucking terrifying.
They tried so Pandorum was like they tried just hard enough. Event Horizon was like everybody tried their hardest.
Right.
And they the execution was really tight and good. Yeah.
And I mean you got a star-studded
there
cast
was a little bit of gore. Like one of the things I liked about Event Horizon was there was just enough gore.
Right, you get that
at the
little
right moments.
Just a taste where you get that like there's a monster, there's a bad guy, but we're seeing it in its effects more than we're seeing it. And I think Pandorum definitely tipped their bad guy hand way too early. Soon. Yeah. Way too soon. We should have had the whoosh jump scare. We could have gotten the stabby knife through the boot locker. And we could have even
seeing the
we could have even had like a shadow drags away Cooper's body.
Right. Or have it even be dragged away by like a cable or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a scary fucking movie. But we see these monsters in the first 20 minutes. And then they have to keep upping the game to keep them terrifying for the next hour and 25 minutes. Yeah. Which is why by the end of it, we're in an entire room filled with them. Because to make it scary now, you have to give numbers.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely, there is an art to the amount of monster exposure we get in a horror movie. And if your monster is terrifying enough that you can sustain that pitch of terror after they've been revealed, you can reveal them far sooner. But in terms of complexity, these monsters are not complex. I mean, they're cannibals, which is inherently scary.
And they're like modified humans.
You can have a monster that pops out sooner, but they gotta be a good monster. Right. They've got to have more to them than just like sharp fangs, bony armor. You need more. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
All right. What is your award for this movie?
Okay. My award for this movie is Worst Chef. Where the cannibal guy, where they stumble into his pad.
His killing den.
And he just kind of talks them through while he's cooking them something.
Yeah.
Who knows what it is? Probably either another person or a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, because he says they don't get in here unless I let them. And
unless I want them in here.
Yeah, and Bauer goes, "Why would you want them in here?"
And he just kind of gives a significant look down to the bottom of the room.
He's like, "Oh, I don't know, reasons."
Use your imagination. All right. What's your award?
Okay, my award goes to most unusual but effective casting of Dennis Quaid.
Okay, yes. Yeah, we talked about this.
Because Dennis Quaid has that he has a jovial face, right?
So we were talking about, he's kind of like Tom Hanks, right?
Yeah.
He always plays the good guy. And he's always he's a nice guy. Like he almost always plays like a kind person.
Yeah, he comes with a built-in level of trust. I mean, Dennis Quaid pops out of there and you're like, oh, thank God. He's here to save the day.
Right. He's either going to do the saving or he's going to be like the sage support guy.
Yeah. Which he starts out as.
Right.
Right.
He starts out off as the Gandalf.
The slow descent into madness of Dennis Quaid is really, it's good. It's well done. He's like the biggest named actor at the time in this. I mean, the others have gone on to do other stuff, but I mean, Dennis Quaid was already Dennis Quaid.
Right.
So, in terms of blowing your load on a large name actor, Dennis Quaid was an interesting choice, but I think it works.
I think it worked really well, especially with the casting of another character as... So, Dennis Quaid was actually Gallo the whole time. Uh-huh. He was... When he... Like, Gallo got bored just messing with people on the ship, he put himself back into hibernation, but as Peyton. And he knew he would wake up with amnesia. And so it was kind of like maybe giving himself a chance to like experience life as someone different. Who didn't just do horrible things.
Right.
For so long that he aged so much. But I think casting an actual separate actor as young Gallo versus aged Peyton Gallo, especially with aged Peyton Gallo as Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
I think that was a really, really clever casting move.
Right. I mean, and the bait and switch doesn't work if they're both Dennis Quaid. Obviously.
Right. If it was like the de-aged Jeff Bridges from Tron Legacy.
Don't. Okay, we don't.
De-aged Jeff Bridges.
Stop it. Stop.
Deep fake young Jeff Bridges.
It wasn't even. Deep fake would have been better. It was a classic example of don't try out an untested computer technology.
It wasn't ready then.
It wasn't ready. And then, at least they didn't try with Bruce Boxleitner. They were just like, we're not going to have Tron take his helmet off. This is going to be fine. Right. We'll just use his voice.
They kind of did it in one of the X-Men movies where they de-aged Patrick Stewart. And this was years later. But this was like 2018 or something. It was like Days of Future Past, I think. And it was like, it still doesn't really work. Like, it's still in Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since we've meandered off topic, clearly we're done talking about Pandorum. So you can find us on Instagram at the Strange and Beautiful Book Club or on Patreon at Strange and Beautiful Book Club. Either one's great. I update the Instagram a little bit more, but I do post new things on the Patreon pretty frequently as well. And there's a whole list of perks on the Patreon that I encourage you all to go check out because Matt is still.
Soon there will be a website and an email address and
a Discord channel.
Where
we will go and talk to each other if there's nobody else to talk to. Because right now, Matt's the only Patreon. And he didn't even subscribe to a tier high enough to grant him access to the Discord server.
That's coming out of my flex money, honey.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway.
Remember, sometimes the strangest things are the most beautiful, too.
So be who you are and love what you love.